Welcome back. We're back in the shop. It's time to work on the tractor. I dropped this down to check the oil level in here. That's good. The screen in there looks brand new. Huge plus there. I still have to figure out what I'm doing with the wheel and tire. I don't know if I want to try and attempt that myself. I don't really have big spoons, tire irons to get the tires off or broke loose, so I'm not sure how well that's going to go to try and put the new one on myself. So I may have to take that to a shop and have them do it. Hopefully I don't have to buy a new tire. Hopefully they can use the one I have out there, one of the two. So we are going to work on some wiring, probably throw the fuel tank in here and try and get some things patched up that need to be done. I know we have some covers on the bottom here that still need to go in. We have to grease some things. I'm not gonna drop the fluids quite yet. As far as the kind of the transmission, hydraulic fluid, all that stuff goes, I kind of want to get this wiring buttoned up. I have a new voltage regulator, we'll throw that on as well. And we also obviously have to get all the wiring in here for our lights. We'll get our battery thrown in here then as well. The battery I'll probably end up throwing on a charger right now because I'm sure over winter and everything, that's kind of dead. So the voltage regulator's in, intake pipe mounted, fastened. I gotta tighten the clamp here. Feed our choke cable through. And we'll probably mount that voltage regulator and then we can probably throw the fuel tank on. Last night we had probably, well, last night and today I should say, we had probably between 5 and 6 inches of rain. So I came into the shop with just a little mess. It's not calcium anymore, but now it's just water. And it runs in that door and ran in this door here. So yeah, that's what we're dealing with now. Oh, well, here we go again. Tell you what, that needs to come off. That is full of junk. Well, that wouldn't be good on first startup, now would it? Hopefully I didn't forget to do anything before this step, but the fuel tank is back in. I'm gonna probably do new bolts. These aren't terrible. However, one of these, which I think is this one, there's like no nut left. So I'll probably just do new bolts. It'd be easier. Today, I think, is gonna be the day. What do I mean by that? Well, if all goes well, we should be hopefully test firing this thing today. I'm nervous. I mean, I did everything by the book and how I should have done it with the service manual and all that stuff, but there was just a lot going on, so hopefully everything is tip-top shape and everything works out. I got to tie up a couple loose ends with some things, wiring, stuff like that, and obviously get the fuel line mounted and so on and so forth, and then we'll be ready, I think, to test fire it. I also have, because we don't have any fluids in it, I ended up picking up some coolant and some engine oil, so we'll be able to do all that. And as far as the high tran and everything kind of for the rear end, transmission, all that stuff, we'll do that at a later date. Worry about this wheel and this tire, same thing, worry about that at a later date. Main thing right now is make sure there's nothing wrong with the engine, everything is good and kosher. With everything up here, make sure everything test fires good, we're good that way. And then we'll progress with, you know, finishing up some wiring, wire up the lights, do all that good stuff. That much closer. Tack cable's in, oil pressure line's in, everything on the other side. Obviously I gotta do some more wiring and button up some stuff over there, but got the fuel line in, choke cable installed, gotta put in the temperature sensor yet, and at that point, bring the battery in, fill it with fluids, and I know I have to, I think, polarize the generator, so we'll try and do that before anything. And at that point, I think we're gonna be ready to fire this up. Cross your fingers. Temp sensor's in. I put a new fuel filter on here. The other one wasn't terrible, but it had some junk in it, so why mess with it? I have a bunch of other ones. We're going to throw the battery in here, I believe. Try and polarize the generator and fill it with fluids. Well, I've been a little bit nervous as we go on with this, the closer we get to starting it, but at this point, it's time we get some confidence, full confidence that this thing's gonna fire right up, gonna run good, and we'll be able to put this thing back together. Well, we're already running into problems. It's leaking right here around the gasket for whatever reason, I don't know. Running down, dripping underneath. And on the other side, it's also leaking around this plug. And I don't even have the radiator filled yet. So that's cute. And now we get to drain it off. Plan of attack. I'm gonna pop out the plug, pop the thermostat housing off. We'll have to take the fan off, retension that, no big deal. See if maybe there's some debris or part of the old gasket I didn't get off. Maybe that's why this didn't seal. I'm not sure, that's a brand new gasket for the thermostat housing. This plug here was taped, so I don't know what the deal is with that either. Probably retape it, and we'll probably throw some Teflon paste on there as well. And then I guess we'll refill. I also am gonna be about a gallon, maybe 2 gallons short. So I'll have to run and get some more coolant as well. Okay, dump the coolant back in. I use this rag as a screen to get all the junk that came out from over there on the side of the engine case or the block. Switch the gasket around in here. I think maybe that was the issue. I kind of had that wrong, I guess. And the other side for that plug, I ended up pulling that back out, taping the threads, and I put Teflon tape and Teflon paste. Hopefully the bottom one is fine. That one I didn't see leaking earlier, so it should be, because it was all the way up here and that one wasn't doing anything. So in theory, it should be good. The gasket up here looks good. So I need to run and get some more coolant for that so we can fill this all the way up. We'll fill the oil, put some fuel in it, and then we should be able to do a test fire. Hopefully the issues we just had are it and the only ones. Just got back with 2 more gallons. I still don't see any leaks anywhere. So good sign. We'll throw whatever else we need to get in there. Hopefully 2 gallons is enough. I believe it is, because I think it's up to about here. So that should be good. Everything looks good. So top that off, fill it with oil, fuel, and fire it up. It only took about 97% of 1 gallon, but doesn't hurt to have extra. Now, oil. At this point, we're pretty much ready to go to flip that switch and hit the start button. However, before we even do any of that, I just want to make sure and just kind of slowly look at everything and make sure there's not anything that we missed, and make sure we are in fact 110% ready to fire this thing up. Well, this is the moment we've all been waiting for a very, very long time. I'm gonna just go over everything one more time, double check, triple check, make sure we're good to go. I don't think there's any other wiring things I had to do. I think all this stuff is just kind of accessories that we had. Some of these were already hanging there, so shouldn't need to hook any of that up. The lights can be done later. But I want to make sure, obviously, the engine's good to go before we bother going any further. All right, I think we are ready. Okay, you heard it crank over again. And maybe we might not even have enough fuel in the tank. I do have to double check that, because it didn't really do anything, so I'll double check that. Biggest thing was, when we did crank that over, I had a little bit of smoke come out of the pipe, which is probably excess oil that was in there from when I put the pistons and all that in. I was listening very closely for any sounds or abnormal signs. Everything sounded really good and smooth. So I'll probably have to dump a little bit more fuel in there. It's probably not high enough. I think we're on the right track. Double checked, we have spark. I came down here to look at the carburetor. It's bone dry in there, so it's a fuel issue. And I look underneath, the float's down, wanting fuel, but the little valve up there is stuck, closed. And I even tapped on it, it didn't release, so hopefully that's not gonna be an ongoing problem. That's all new. Now that that's back together, let's turn some fuel on and see what it does now. Now we're cooking. Now it should be obviously filling up the bowl. And it looks like it's about full. It's running in a little bit yet. Now we should be able to try it. I'm guessing that little needle valve in there is probably, once it has some fuel going through it, it's probably not gonna stick anymore. But kind of annoying. is happening right now?
Hi.
Tractor ended up starting last night, as you could see, but as soon as I left off the start button, it would die. So what I ended up figuring out is the ballast resistor here was actually bad. I think it had a little bit of oil in the back, so that's probably what caused that. I don't know. It worked when it was pulled in here, but with taking the whole engine apart, it's hard to say exactly what happened to it. So I replaced that. I have power coming in and power coming out now, so we should be good. Now we'll try and start it and see what happens. Let's try this again. We got to make some more adjustments for sure. Some of the adjustments we may have to make could be in the timing here a little bit, so we may have to mess with that and get that kind of tweaked. But it is running. It did fire. There's no smoke coming out of there, so I believe all the cylinders are running and firing. That's definitely a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Hopefully, you know, everything's good. It sounds smooth. And at this point, we obviously have to fine tune everything, fine tune the carburetor, maybe adjust the timing a little bit on the distributor. And I think we're gonna be good to put this thing back together fully and do something with the tire and everything like that. Obviously, button up the wiring and make it and tweak it to run good. So she lives again. She's alive, which is great. I'm excited. I'm excited to get this thing out, and I know you guys have been waiting for this day for a while. The only thing I don't know what's going on here with the radiator. You can see, I don't know if that's from me spilling some and now the fan's blowing it all into the fins, because it doesn't look any worse than it was. So maybe that's what it was. I did spill some, so maybe that's what it is, because that was tested, so that shouldn't leak. But that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for sticking around with the series, and it'll continue to get put back together, and we should have this thing out of here very soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.